Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, born Mahmoud Sabbaghian on October 28, 1956, is an Iranian politician who was the sixth president of Iran from 2005 to 2013. He was also the main political leader of the Alliance of Builders of Islamic Iran, a coalition of conservative political groups in the country. An engineer and teacher from a poor background, ideologically shaped by thinkers such as Nawab Safavi, Jalal Ali Ahmad and Ahmad Fardad, Ahmadinejad joined the Office for Strengthening Unity after the Iranian Revolution. Appointed a provincial governor, he was removed after the election of President Mohammad Khatami and returned to teaching. Tehran's council elected him mayor in 2003. He took a religious hard line, reversing reforms of previous moderate mayors. His 2005 presidential campaign, supported by the Alliance of Builders of Islamic Iran, garnered 62% of the runoff election votes, and he became president on August 3, 2005. During his presidency, Ahmadinejad was viewed as a controversial figure within Iran, as well as internationally. He has been criticized domestically for his economic policies and disregard for human rights. Internationally, he is criticized for his hostility towards some countries, most notably Saudi Arabia, Israel, the United Kingdom, and the United States and other Western and Arab nations. In 2007, Ahmadinejad introduced a gas rationing plan to reduce the country's fuel consumption, and cut the interest rates that private and public banking facilities could charge. He supports Iran's nuclear program. His election to a second term in 2009 was widely disputed and caused widespread protests domestically and drew significant international criticism. During his second term, Ahmadinejad came under fire not only from reformers but also traditionalists in parliament and the Revolutionary Guard, and even from Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, over accusations of corruption. Ahmadinejad's dismissal of Intelligence Minister Gholam Hossein Mohseni-Ejai, and his support for his controversial close advisor Esfandiar Rahim Mashi'i. On March 14, 2012, Ahmadinejad became the first president of the Islamic Republic of Iran to be summoned by the Islamic Consultative Assembly, Parliament, to answer questions regarding his presidency. Limited to 2 terms under the current Iranian constitution, Ahmadinejad supported Esfandiar Rahim Mashi'i's campaign for president. On June 15, 2013, Hassan Rouhani was elected as Ahmadinejad's successor and assumed office on August 3, 2013. On April 12, 2017, Ahmadinejad announced that he intended to run for a third term in the 2017 Iranian presidential election, against the objections of Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khomeini. His nomination was rejected by the Guardian Council. Early life. Mahmoud Ahmadinejad was born on October 28, 1956 near Garmsar, in the village of Aradan, in Semnan province. His mother, Khanum, was a Sayyidah, an honorific title given to those believed to be direct bloodline descendants of the Islamic prophet Muhammad. His father, Ahmad, was a grocer and barber, and was a religious Shia who taught the Quran. When Mahmoud was 1 year old, his family moved to Tehran. Mahmoud's father changed their family name from Sabbaghian or Sabbaghian to Ahmadinejad in 1960 to avoid discrimination when the family moved to the city. Sabr is Persian for thread painter, a once common occupation within the Semnan carpet industry. Ahmadinejad's uncle and his brother Dawood Ahmadinejad have confirmed that the previous surname was Sabbaghian, Persian. Ahmadinejad is a composite name, Ahmadinejad. Ahmad is to a name applied for Muhammad, the prophet of Islam, and namely virtuous. The suffix nejad in Persian means race, therefore the term Ahmadinejad means the race of Muhammad. According to the interviews with the relatives of Ahmadinejad, his father, who works in small shop, sold his house in Tehran and bought a smaller one, giving the leftover to charity and poor people. In 1976, Ahmadinejad took Iran's National University entrance examination. According to his autobiography, he was ranked 132nd out of 400,000 participants that year, and soon enrolled in the Iran University of Science and Technology, IUST, located at Tehran, as an undergraduate student of civil engineering. He would later earn his doctorate in 1997 in transportation engineering and planning from Iran University of Science and Technology as well, when he was the mayor of Ardabil province, located at the northwest of the country. Administrative and academic careers. Some details of Ahmadinejad's life during the 1980s are not publicly known, but it is known that he held a number of administrative posts in the province of West Azerbaijan, Iran. Many reports say that after Saddam Hussein ordered the invasion of Iran, Ahmadinejad joined the army of the Guardians of the Islamic Revolution and served in their intelligence and security apparatus, but his advisor Mojtaba Samari Hashimi says, he has never been a member or an official member of the Revolutionary Guards, having been a Basiji-like volunteer instead. Ahmadinejad was accepted to a Master of Science program at his alma mater in 1986. He joined the faculty there as a lecturer in 1989, and in 1997 received his doctorate in civil engineering and traffic transportation planning. Early political career. After the Islamic Revolution, Ahmadinejad became a member of the Office for Strengthening Unity, an organization developed to prevent students from sympathizing or allying with the budding Mojahedin Khalq. He first took political office as unelected governor to both Mako and Koyi in West Azerbaijan province during the 1980s. He eventually became an advisor to the Governor-General of Kurdistan province for 2 years. During his doctoral studies at Tehran, he was appointed Governor-General of newly formed Ardabil province from 1993 until Mohammad Khatami removed him in 1997, whereupon he returned to teaching. Mayor of Tehran. The 2003 mayoral race in Tehran elected conservative candidates from the Alliance of Builders of Islamic Iran to the City Council of Tehran. The council appointed Ahmadinejad mayor. As mayor, he reversed changes made by previous moderate and reformist mayors. He put religious emphasis on the activities of cultural centers they had founded, publicized the separation of elevators for men and women in the municipality offices, and suggested that people killed in the Iran-Iraq War be buried in major city squares of Tehran. He also worked to improve the traffic system and put an emphasis on charity, such as distributing free soup to the poor. After his election to the presidency, Ahmadinejad's resignation as the mayor of Tehran was accepted on June 28, 2005. After 2 years as mayor, Ahmadinejad was one of 65 finalists for World Mayor in 2005, selected from 550 nominees, only 9 of them from Asia. He was among 3 strong candidates for the top 10 list, but his resignation made him ineligible. Presidency. 2005 campaign. Ahmadinejad was not widely known when he entered the presidential election campaign as he had never run for office before. He had been mayor of Tehran for only 2 years and had been appointed, not elected, 315 although he had already made his mark in Tehran for rolling back earlier reforms. He was / a member of the Central Council of the Islamic Society of Engineers, but his key political support is inside the Alliance of Builders of Islamic Iran, Abadgaran or developers. He was also helped by support from Supreme Leader Ali Khomeini, who some described Ahmadinejad as a protégé of. Ahmadinejad generally sent mixed signals about his plans for his presidency, perhaps to attract both religious conservatives and the lower economic classes. His campaign slogan was, "It's possible and we can do it." In the campaign, he took a populist approach. He emphasized his own modest life, and compared himself with Mohammad Ali Rajah, Iran's second president. Ahmadinejad said he planned to create an exemplary government for the people of the world in Iran. He was a principlist, acting politically based on Islamic and revolutionary principles. One of his goals was putting the petroleum income on people's tables, meaning Iran's oil profits would be distributed among the poor. Ahmadinejad was the only presidential candidate who spoke out against future relations with the United States. He told Islamic Republic of Iran broadcasting the United Nations was one-sided, stacked against the world of Islam. He opposed the veto power of the UN Security Council's 5 permanent members. It is not just for a few states to sit and veto global approvals. Should such a privilege continue to exist, the Muslim world with a population of nearly 1.5 billion should be extended the same privilege. He defended Iran's nuclear program and accused a few arrogant powers of trying to limit Iran's industrial and technological development in this and other fields. In his second-round campaign, he said, "We didn't participate in the revolution for turn-by-turn government, this revolution tries to reach a worldwide government." He spoke of an extended program using trade to improve foreign relations, and called for greater ties with Iran's neighbors and ending visa requirements between states in the region, saying that people should visit anywhere they wish freely. People should have freedom in their pilgrimages and tours. Ahmadinejad described Ayatollah Mohammad Taghi Mesbah Yazdi, a senior cleric from Qom, as his ideological and spiritual mentor. Mesbah founded the Haqqani school of thought in Iran. He and his team strongly supported Ahmadinejad's 2005 presidential campaign. 2005 presidential election. Main article, Iranian presidential election, 2005. Ahmadinejad won 62% of the vote in the runoff poll against Akbar Hashemi Rafsanjani. Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khomeini authorized his presidency on August 3, 2005. Ahmadinejad kissed Khomeini's hand during the ceremony to show his loyalty. Shortly after Ahmadinejad was elected president, some Western media outlets published claims that he was among the students who stormed the U.S. Embassy in Tehran, sparking the Iran hostage crisis. This claim has been denied by the Iranian government, the Iranian opposition, as well as a CIA investigation on the matter. 2005 Cabinet appointments. Iran's president is constitutionally obliged to obtain confirmation from the parliament for his selection of ministers. Ahmadinejad presented a short list at a private meeting on August 5, and his final list on August 14. The Majlis rejected all of his cabinet candidates for the oil portfolio and objected to the appointment of his allies in senior government office. The Majlis approved a cabinet on August 24. The ministers promised to meet frequently outside Tehran and held their first meeting on August 25 in Mashhad, with 4 empty seats for the unapproved nominees. 2006 Councils and Assembly of Experts election. Ahmadinejad's team lost the 2006 City Council elections. In the first nationwide election since Ahmadinejad became president, his allies failed to dominate election returns for the Assembly of Experts and local councils. Results, with a turnout of about 60%, suggested a voter shift toward more moderate policies. According to an editorial in the Kargazarian independent daily newspaper, the results show that voters have learned from the past and concluded that we need to support moderate figures. An Iranian political analyst said that this is a blow for Ahmadinejad and Mesbah Yazdi's list. 2009 presidential election. On August 23, 2008, Supreme Leader Ali Khomeini announced that he sees Ahmadinejad as president in the next 5 years, a comment interpreted as indicating support for Ahmadinejad's re-election. 39,165,191 ballots were cast in the election on June 12, 2009, according to Iran's election headquarters. Ahmadinejad won 24,527,516 votes, 62.63%. In second place, Mir Hossein Mousavi, won 13,216,411, 33.75%, of the votes. 2009 Iranian presidential election protests. As of April 2011, the election results remained in dispute with both Mousavi and Ahmadinejad and their respective supporters who believe that electoral fraud occurred during the election. Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khomeini formally endorsed Ahmadinejad as president on August 3, 2009, and Ahmadinejad was sworn in for a second term on August 5, 2009. Iran's constitution stipulates term limits of 2 terms for the office of president. Several Iranian political figures appeared to avoid the ceremony. Former presidents Mohammad Khatami and Akbar Hashemi Rafsanjani, who is currently head of the Expediency Discernment Council, along with opposition leader Mir Hossein Mousavi, did not attend the ceremony. Opposition groups asked protesters on reformist websites and blogs to launch new street demonstrations on the day of the inauguration ceremony. On Inauguration Day, hundreds of riot police met opposition protesters outside Parliament. After taking the oath of office, which was broadcast live on Iranian state television, Ahmadinejad said that he would protect the official faith, the system of the Islamic Revolution and the Constitution. France, Germany, the United Kingdom and the United States announced that they would not send the usual letters of congratulation. 2009 Cabinet appointments. Ahmadinejad announced controversial ministerial appointments for his second term. Esfandiar Rahim Mashi'i was briefly appointed as first vice president, but opposed by a number of Majlis members and by the intelligence minister, Gholam Hossein Mohseni. Mashi'i followed orders to resign. Ahmadinejad then appointed Mashi'i as chief of staff, and fired Mohseni. On July 26, 2009, Ahmadinejad's government faced a legal problem after he sacked 4 ministers. Iran's constitution, Article 136, stipulates that, if more than half of its members are replaced, the cabinet may not meet or act before the Majlis approves the revised membership. The vice-chairman of the Majlis announced that no cabinet meetings or decisions would be legal, pending such a reapproval. The main list of 21 cabinet appointments was announced on August 19, 2009. On September 4, the Majlis approved 18 of the 21 candidates, and rejected 3, including 2 women. Suzan Keshavarz, Mohammad Ali Abadi, and Fatma Ajorlo were not approved by Majlis for the Ministries of Education, Energy, and Welfare and Social Security, respectively. Marzi Vahid Dastgirdi was the first woman approved by the Majlis as a minister in the Islamic Republic of Iran. 2012 parliamentary elections. Ahmadinejad suffered a defeat in March/May 2012 parliamentary elections with Ayatollah Khomeini's principalist allies winning about 3/4 of the parliament's 290 seats, and Ahmadinejad supporters far fewer. Domestic policy. Economic policy. In Ahmadinejad's first 4 years as president, Iran's real GDP reflected growth of the economy. Inflation and unemployment also decreased under Ahmadinejad due to better economic management and ending the unsustainable spending and borrowing patterns of previous administrations. Ahmadinejad increased spending by 25% and supported subsidies for food and petrol. He also initially refused a gradual increase of petrol prices, saying that after making necessary preparations, such as a development of public transportation system, the government would free up petrol prices after 5 years. Interest rates were cut by presidential decree to below the inflation rate. One unintended effect of this stimulation of the economy has been the bidding up of some urban real estate prices by 2 or 3 times their pre-Ahmadinejad value by Iranians seeking to invest surplus cash and finding few other safe opportunities. The resulting increase in the cost of housing hurt poorer, non-property owning Iranians, the putative beneficiaries of Ahmadinejad's populist policies. The Management and Planning Organization, a state body charged with mapping out long-term economic and budget strategy, was broken up and its experienced managers were fired. In June 2006, 50 Iranian economists wrote a letter to Ahmadinejad that criticized his price interventions to stabilize prices of goods, cement, government services, and his decree issued by the High Labor Council and the Ministry of Labor that proposed an increase of workers' salaries by 40%. Ahmadinejad publicly responded harshly to the letter and denounced the accusations. Ahmadinejad called for middle-of-the-road compromises with respect to Western-oriented capitalism and socialism. Current political conflicts with the United States caused the central bank to fear increased capital flight due to global isolation. These factors prevented an improvement of infrastructure and capital influx, despite high economic potential. Among those that did not vote for him in the first election, only 3.5% said they would consider voting for him in the next election. Mohammad Khoshcharet, a member of the Iranian parliament that campaigned for Ahmadinejad, said that his government has been strong on populist slogans, but weak on achievement. President Ahmadinejad changed almost all of his economic ministers, including oil, industry, and economy, since coming to power in 2005. In an interview with Fars news agency on April 2008, Dawood Danish Jaffari, who acted as Minister of Economy in Ahmadinejad's cabinet, harshly criticized his economic policy. "During my time, there was no positive attitude towards previous experiences or experienced people, and there was no plan for the future. Peripheral issues which were not of dire importance to the nation were given priority. Most of the scientific economic concepts like the effect of liquidity on inflation were put in question." In response to these criticisms, Ahmadinejad accused his minister of not being a man of justice and declared that the solution to Iran's economic problem is the culture of martyrdom. In May 2008, the Petroleum Minister of Iran admitted that the government illegally invested $2 billion to import petrol in 2007. At Iranian parliament, he also mentioned that he simply followed the president's order. While his government had 275,000 billion toman oil income, the highest in Iranian history, Ahmadinejad's government had the highest budget deficit since the Iranian Revolution. During his presidency, Ahmadinejad launched a gasoline rationing plan to reduce the country's fuel consumption. He also instituted cuts in the interest rates that private and public banking facilities could charge. He issued a directive that the Management and Planning Organization be affiliated to the government. In May 2011, Ahmadinejad announced that he would temporarily run the oil ministry. Family planning and population policy. In October 2006, Ahmadinejad began calling for the scrapping of Iran's existing birth control policies, which discouraged Iranian couples from having more than 2 children. He told MPs that Iran could cope with 50 million more people than the current 70 million. In November 2010, he urged Iranians to marry and reproduce earlier. "We should take the age of marriage for boys to 20 and for girls to about 16 and 17. His remarks have drawn criticism and been called ill-judged at a time when Iran was struggling with surging inflation and rising unemployment, estimated at around 11%. Ahmadinejad's call was reminiscent of a call for Iranians to have more children made by Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini in 1979. The policy had increased Iran's population by 16 million in 7 years 321, but had eventually been reversed in response to the resultant economic strain. In 2008, the government sent the Family Protection Bill to the Iranian parliament. Women's rights activists criticized the bill for removing protections from women, such as the requirement that a husband obtain his wife's consent before marrying a second wife. Women's rights in Iran are more religiously based than those in secular countries. Housing. The first legislation to emerge from his newly formed government was a 12 trillion rial, $1.3 billion, fund called Reza's Compassion Fund, named after Shia Imam Ali al-Rida. Ahmadinejad's government said this fund would tap Iran's oil revenues to help young people get jobs, afford marriage, and buy their own homes. The fund also sought charitable donations, with a board of trustees in each of Iran's 30 provinces. The legislation was a response to the cost of urban housing, which is pushing up the national average marital age, currently around 25 years for women and 28 years for men. In 2006 the Iranian parliament rejected the fund. However, Ahmadinejad ordered the Administrative Council to execute the plan. Human rights. According to a report by Human Rights Watch, since President Ahmadinejad came to power, treatment of detainees has worsened in Evin prison as well as in detention centers operated clandestinely by the judiciary, the Ministry of Information, and the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. 464 Human Rights Watch also has stated, respect for basic human rights in Iran, especially freedom of expression and assembly, deteriorated in 2006. The government routinely tortures and mistreats detained dissidents, including through prolonged solitary confinement. 463 Human Rights Watch described the source of human rights violations in contemporary Iran as coming from the judiciary, accountable to Ali Khomeini, and from members directly appointed by Ahmadinejad. Responses to dissent have varied. Human Rights Watch writes that the Ahmadinejad government, in a pronounced shift from the policy under former President Mohammad Khatami, has shown no tolerance for peaceful protests and gatherings. In December 2006, Ahmadinejad advised officials not to disturb students who engaged in a protest during a speech of his at the Amir Kabir University of Technology in Tehran, although speakers at other protests have included among their complaints that there had been a crackdown on dissent at universities since Ahmadinejad was elected. In April 2007, the Tehran police, which is under Khomeini's supervision, began a crackdown on women with improper hijab. This led to criticism from associates of Ahmadinejad. In 2012, Ahmadinejad claimed that AIDS was created by the West in order to weaken poorer countries, and repeated a previous claim that homosexual Iranians did not exist. He has also described homosexuality as ugly. Universities. In 2006, the Ahmadinejad government reportedly forced numerous Iranian scientists and university professors to resign or to retire. It has been referred to as the Second Cultural Revolution. The policy has been said to replace old professors with younger ones. Some university professors received letters indicating their early retirement unexpectedly. In November 2006, 53 university professors had to retire from Iran University of Science and Technology. In 2006, Ahmadinejad's government applied a 50% quota for male students and 50% for female students in the university entrance exam for medicine, dentistry, and pharmacy. The plan was supposed to stop the growing presence of female students in the universities. In a response to critics, Iranian Minister of Health and Medical Education, Kamran Bagheri Lankarani argued that there are not enough facilities such as dormitories for female students. Masoud Salehi, president of Zaydan University, said that presence of women generates some problems with transportation. Also, Ebrahim Mikhanaki, president of Babol University of Medical Sciences, stated that an increase in the presence of women will make it difficult to distribute facilities in a suitable manner. Bahar Larijani, the president of Tehran University of Medical Sciences, made similar remarks. According to Ruse Online, the quotas lack a legal foundation and are justified as support for family and religion. December 2006 student protest. In December 2006, it was reported that some students were angry about the international conference to review the global vision of the Holocaust, which they saw as promoting Holocaust denial. In response to the students' slogans, the president said, "We have been standing up to dictatorship so that no one will dare to establish dictatorship in a millennium even in the name of freedom." Given the scars inflicted on the Iranian nation by agents of the US and British dictatorship, no one will ever dare to initiate the rise of a dictator. It was reported that even though the protesters broke the TV cameras and threw handmade bombs at Ahmadinejad, the president asked the officials not to question or disturb the protesters. In his blog, Ahmadinejad described his reaction to the incident as a feeling of joy because of the freedom that people enjoyed after the revolution. 1,000 students also protested the day before to denounce the increased pressure on the reformist groups at the university. 1 week prior, more than 2,000 students protested at Tehran University on the country's annual Student Day, with speakers saying that there had been a crackdown on dissent at universities since Ahmadinejad was elected. Nuclear program. Ahmadinejad has been a vocal supporter of Iran's nuclear program, and has insisted that it is for peaceful purposes. He has repeatedly emphasized that building a nuclear bomb is not the policy of his government. He has said that such a policy is illegal and against our religion. He also added at a January 2006 conference in Tehran that a nation with culture, logic, and civilization would not need nuclear weapons, and that countries that seek nuclear weapons are those that want to solve all problems by the use of force. In a 2008 interview, Ahmadinejad elaborated that countries striving to obtain nuclear weapons are not politically progressive nations, and those who possess them and continually make new generations of such bombs are even more backward. In April 2006, Ahmadinejad announced that Iran had successfully refined uranium to a stage suitable for the nuclear fuel cycle. In a speech to students and academics in Mashhad, he was quoted as saying that Iran's conditions had changed completely as it had become a nuclear state and could talk to other states from that stand. On April 13, 2006, Iran's news agency, Islamic Republic News Agency, IRNA, quoted Ahmadinejad as saying that the peaceful Iranian nuclear technology would not pose a threat to any party because we want peace and stability and we will not cause injustice to anyone, and at the same time we will not submit to injustice. Nevertheless, Iran's nuclear policy under Ahmadinejad's administration has received much criticism, spearheaded by the United States and Israel. The accusations include that Iran is striving to obtain nuclear arms and developing long-range firing capabilities, and that Ahmadinejad issued an order to keep UN inspectors from freely visiting the nation's nuclear facilities and viewing their designs, in defiance of an IAEA resolution. Following a May 2009 test launch of a long-range missile, Ahmadinejad was quoted as telling the crowd that with its nuclear program, Iran was sending the West a message that the Islamic Republic of Iran is running the show. Despite Ahmadinejad's vocal support for the program, the office of the Iranian president is not directly responsible for nuclear policy. It is instead set by the Supreme National Security Council. The council includes 2 representatives appointed by the supreme leader, military officials, and members of the executive, judicial, and legislative branches of government, and reports directly to Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, who issued a fatwa against nuclear weapons in 2005. Khomeini has criticized Ahmadinejad's personalization of the nuclear issue. Ahmadinejad vowed in February 2008 that Iran will not be held back from developing its peaceful nuclear program, and has stated that at least 16 different peaceful uses for nuclear technology have so far been identified. Ahmadinejad has stressed the importance of the right to peaceful nuclear development. Iranian opposition leader, Mousavi, has even stated that giving up the country's nuclear program would be irreparable and that the Iranian people support the nuclear program. No one in Iran will accept suspension, Mousavi has said, adding that if elected, his policy would be to work to provide guarantees that Tehran's nuclear activities would never divert to non-peaceful aims. In October 2009, the United States, France, and Russia proposed a U.N-drafted deal with Iran regarding its nuclear program, in an effort to find a compromise between Iran's stated need for a nuclear reactor and the concerns of those who are worried that Iran harbors a secret intent of developing a nuclear weapon. After some delay in responding, on October 29, Ahmadinejad seemed to change his tone towards the deal. "We welcome fuel exchange, nuclear cooperation, building of power plants and reactors, and we are ready to cooperate," he said in a live broadcast on state television. However, he added that Iran would not retreat one iota on its right to a sovereign nuclear program. Domestic criticism and controversies. Accusations of corruption. According to Brussels-based NGO International Crisis Group, Ahmadinejad has been criticized for attacking private plunderers and corrupt officials, while engaging in cronyism and political favoritism. Many of his close associates were appointed to positions for which they have no obvious qualifications, and billion-dollar no-bid contracts were awarded to the Islamic Revolution Guard Corps, IRGC, an organization with which he is strongly associated. According to Najma Bozorgmer of F.
Please subscribe and thanks for watching.